The air in the desert was heavy with dust and tension, the kind that clings to your lungs and makes every breath feel like a battle. The SEAL team crouched behind a line of jagged rocks, scanning the horizon for any sign of the target. Their commander, Captain Harris, had gone silent hours ago after attempting to secure a critical intel drop in enemy territory. Initially, they had followed his orders without question, trusting the man who had led countless missions with precision and courage. But as minutes stretched into hours and his radio crackled only with static, doubt began to seep into their minds. "I don't like this," muttered Petty Officer Reynolds, his eyes flicking nervously toward the canyon below where dust swirled like a warning. "Harris isn't responding. We can't just sit here waiting." "I know," said Lieutenant Chen, his voice low and tight. "But we've trained for worst-case scenarios. We move without him, we risk everything." Every decision seemed wrong, every move a potential trap. The enemy territory was a maze of rocky outcrops, hidden snipers, and improvised explosives. The longer they lingered, the more vulnerable they became. Tension escalated into frustration, and frustration into fear. By the time the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows over the barren land, the team's morale had cracked. Captain Harris had always been a rock for them, the type of leader whose presence alone could steady nerves. But without him, their confidence faltered. After a heated discussion, the SEALs came to a grim consensus: they couldn't risk continuing the mission blind. "We need to call it," Reynolds finally said, his voice edged with guilt. "We've done all we can. Harris, he's on his own now." Chen clenched his jaw, staring out into the fading light. "It's not just about following orders anymore. It's survival." He knew the risk when he went in. "We can't follow blindly." As the team began to retreat, the tension in the air was broken by an unexpected sound, a distant, deliberate crack of a rifle shot. The enemy team flinched in unison, their eyes scanning for the source. The SEALs froze. The shot was precise, almost surgical, hitting a hostile patrol at long range without warning. It was a signal, not a threat, but it reminded them of one undeniable truth: help could arrive in ways they hadn't anticipated. From a ridge above, a figure emerged, moving with silent confidence. A female sniper, barely visible against the rocky terrain, assessed the scene with cold precision. Her eyes, sharp and unwavering, focused on both the enemy and the SEALs. She had heard about the stranded commander, understood the gravity of the mission, and wasn't about to let it fail. Without a word, she took her position, scanning for threats, calculating every move with the instincts of someone who had lived on the edge of life and death for years. The SEALs, unsure whether to trust the unknown ally, watched in astonishment as she began to change the tide. The enemy, previously in control, now faltered under her unerring aim. It was in that moment, as the first hints of night fell across the desert, that hope, long buried beneath doubt, began to spark again. The female sniper moved like a shadow across the ridge, her rifle steady, eyes scanning every angle. The SEALs watched in awe as she picked off hostile sentries one by one, her precision so flawless it seemed almost unreal. Each shot shifted the balance, turning what had felt like a hopeless mission into a chance, just a chance, to save their commander. Reynolds exchanged a glance with Chen, the unspoken question hanging in the air: could they really trust her? But the results spoke for themselves. "Who is she?" Reynolds whispered, barely audible over the wind. Chen shook his head. "Doesn't matter. Focus on staying alive and keeping Harris safe." The enemy, once confident, now scrambled in confusion. They didn't know where the sniper had come from, and every attempt to respond ended in failure. The SEALs slowly advanced, using her covering fire as they navigated treacherous terrain. The dust and chaos that had once been suffocating now felt like an opportunity. Step by step, they closed in on their commander's last known position. Through binoculars, Chen finally spotted Harris. He was trapped behind a crumbling wall of rocks, bleeding from a minor shrapnel wound, but alive. Relief washed over the team, but they couldn't celebrate yet. The enemy's reinforcements were only minutes away. The sniper shifted her position, now taking out targets that directly threatened Harris. Each shot was a calculated risk, her breathing controlled, every movement deliberate. The SEALs realized she wasn't just skilled. She was legendary, someone who had earned the kind of reputation that inspired both fear and respect. Chen made a quick decision. "Reynolds, cover our left flank. I'll move to Harris. Follow my lead." The team split, keeping low, moving quickly under the sniper's protection. They reached their commander just as the enemy began regrouping. Harris, battered but unbroken, looked up and gave a faint nod, acknowledging both his team and the mysterious sniper. "She's amazing," Reynolds muttered, ducking behind a rock as another enemy tried to flank them. "No argument there," Chen replied, motioning to Harris. "We need to get him out now. Follow me." The female sniper provided overwatch, each shot preventing the enemy from closing the distance. The team moved with precision, every step choreographed by trust and necessity. The desert, once a hostile expanse that had sapped their confidence, now became a path to survival. The sniper's calm determination infused them with renewed courage, and for the first time in hours, the SEALs felt the tide turning. As the team approached a safer position, Harris spoke, his voice hoarse but firm. "Whoever she is, she just saved us all." The sniper simply nodded from her vantage point, eyes never leaving the battlefield, calculating the next move. In that moment, it became clear. The mission was far from over, but hope had returned. The balance had shifted, and the SEALs now had a fighting chance to complete what they had almost abandoned. The desert was quiet now, but every sound felt amplified, the wind rattling against rocks, distant calls of enemy patrols, and the soft clicks of rifles being reloaded. The SEAL team moved carefully, guided by the sniper's unwavering aim. She had already cleared the most immediate threats, but her vigilance never wavered. Harris, though exhausted, regained some of his composure as he followed his team through the rocky terrain. Every step forward felt like a step back from the edge of disaster. The closer they got to the extraction point, the more the enemy seemed to realize they were being outmaneuvered. The sniper's shots were precise, surgical, and terrifyingly fast. Each target taken down disrupted enemy formations, giving the SEALs precious seconds they needed to advance. Reynolds, who had doubted every move hours before, now felt a surge of respect and awe. "She's unbelievable," he whispered, eyes tracking her movements. She didn't acknowledge him. Her focus was absolute. Every decision, every action, was calculated for maximum effect. It was clear she had done this many times before, and her experience was now the lifeline for the team. As they rounded the final ridge before the extraction zone, Harris finally spoke, his voice steady despite fatigue. "We couldn't have done this without her. We were ready to give up, and she turned the mission around." Chen nodded, glancing at the sniper who was already scanning the horizon for any lingering threats. Minutes later, the extraction helicopter appeared on the horizon, its rotors slicing through the evening sky. The team signaled, and the pilot adjusted their course to land in the safest possible area. Even as the SEALs boarded, the sniper remained on the ridge for a few more moments, ensuring the enemy didn't pursue. Only when the last of the team was safely aboard did she allow herself to retreat, disappearing into the rocky terrain as silently as she had arrived. Harris slumped into his seat, finally allowing himself a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "That was nothing short of extraordinary," he said. "Whoever she is, she's the reason we're alive." Chen glanced at Reynolds, both sharing a look of disbelief. They had faced impossible odds, lost faith in their commander, and almost abandoned the mission. But thanks to one remarkable woman, they had not only survived but succeeded. The lesson was clear. Courage, skill, and determination could come from the most unexpected places. As the helicopter lifted off, the team watched the desert shrink beneath them, the sniper's silhouette fading into the horizon. They knew they would never forget the woman who had rewritten the outcome of their mission. And for viewers following these incredible stories, this was just one of many tales that prove courage knows no bounds. If you enjoyed this story and want more real-life heroic tales, make sure to subscribe to Her Stories Words. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment of bravery, determination, and unforgettable adventures. This is where extraordinary stories come alive, and every story reminds us that heroism can appear when we least expect it.